to release me when I am about to die. These are the heavy words that came from Nnamdi Kanu, the detained leader of IPOB, and this statement alone has spread like wildfire across Nigeria and beyond. People are talking. People are worried. People are asking questions. Why did he say this? What is happening inside the detention that made him speak in such a way? My people, this gist today is deep, and I want you to stay with me from beginning to end. And as we move together, please don't forget to like this video right now and subscribe to the channel, because your support keeps this platform alive and we want to keep giving you the news the way it is, in plain language everybody can understand. Now let's go straight into the matter. In recent days, the Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed a new date for an important ruling in Nnamdi Kanu's case. The new date is the 26th of September, and that day is very crucial because the court will decide on big issues around his trial. His lawyers have been pressing the court, saying the government does not have a strong case and that his health is already going down. They filed what is called a no-case submission, meaning they are telling the court, look, there is no real evidence here. This man should not be standing trial any longer. The government, on the other hand, is saying, we have a case, we have charges, and the court must allow the trial to continue. This back and forth is where the tension is coming from. But what shocked many is when Nnamdi Kanu himself said that he believes the authorities want to release him only when his body is already failing, only when he is about to give up. Think about that for a moment. That is a very strong fear to express. It tells you he feels unsafe, he feels neglected, and he feels that his health is not being taken seriously where he is. And you know, Nigerians, once such a statement comes out, it doesn't just stay small, it spreads across social media, across radio, across newspapers, and every side begins to react. And as you are listening to me right now, please don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button so that more people can also join in hearing the clear breakdown of what is going on. Now, let's look at the reactions. Immediately after that statement made the news, many Igbo elders and leaders started calling for urgent action. They said, this man is not just a prisoner, he is someone with a huge following, and his health should not be toyed with. Some are saying if something happens to him, it could create a very serious problem for peace in the country. IPOB itself, the group he leads, has warned strongly that if anything bad happens to him, the consequences would be unimaginable. That is the language they used, and it is why people are saying the government must handle this case with wisdom. At the same time, the government and security agencies are trying to stay calm in their statements. They don't want to look like they are bowing to pressure, and they are reminding everyone that this is a legal matter, not just a political one. For them, Nnamdi Kanu is not just an activist. They see him as someone facing charges tied to national security. This difference in how both sides see the same case is what makes it so hot and sensitive. Let me slow down here and remind you again. My viewers, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. I know you're following this gist, and if you're enjoying the clear way we're explaining it, then support us so you don't miss the next updates, because I promise you, September 26th is going to be a big day. Now, let's move deeper. This whole story did not start today. Many of you remember the journey. Nnamdi Kanu's first arrest happened years ago, and since then his case has gone through many twists. He was given bail at a time, but then left the country. Later, he was arrested abroad, and the way he was brought back to Nigeria in 2021 was one of the most controversial parts of this saga. His team called it extraordinary rendition, meaning they believe the process of bringing him back broke international law. That issue is still hanging in the air, and some human rights groups outside Nigeria have also raised eyebrows about it. All of this means that when you hear him say he might only be released when he's about to die, you can see why it makes his supporters angry. They already believe he was treated unfairly in how he was arrested. They believe his detention has gone on too long. They believe his medical situation should have led to him being freed on compassionate grounds. So, when he makes that statement, it doesn't stand alone. It is like pouring petrol into a fire that was already burning slowly. And now, let us look at the health matter, because this is where the worry is strongest. Different people who have either visited him or spoken to his lawyers have said his health is not stable. We don't have every medical detail, but the reports that keep coming out talk about needing urgent medical attention. When a detainee's health is in question, especially a high-profile detainee like this, the government normally would try to avoid anything that could look like negligence. But the feeling from his side is that they are not doing enough. And that is why his words sounded so desperate. Again, viewers, if you are still with me, quickly tap that like button and subscribe, because this gist is not only about today's headline, it is about where the country is heading with such a sensitive case. We need more people to hear these updates in plain, simple English without too much legal grammar. Now, what happens on September 26th? That is the big question. The court is expected to decide if there is enough evidence to keep the trial going, or if it should be dropped at this stage. If the court sides with the Nnamdi Kanu's team, it could mean release, either full or on bail. If the court sides with the government, then the trial continues and detention also continues. Either outcome is going to shake things. If he is released, his supporters will celebrate, but questions about what happens next politically will come up. If he is not released, then tension in the southeast may rise, and the calls for protest or civil action may increase. You see, this is why elders, leaders, and community influencers are speaking up. They are saying, let us prevent fire before it burns out of control. They are asking the federal government to consider humanitarian grounds. They are asking IPOB to calm their followers. They are asking the court to act swiftly and transparently. Everybody knows that if this case explodes, it will not be good for peace and unity. Now, when we talk about Nnamdi Kanu's case, we cannot ignore the political meaning. This is not just about one man in court. This is about identity, about history, about how people feel they are treated in the country. Many of his supporters see him as a voice for the Igbo people, a voice that stands boldly when others are silent. To them, detaining him is like silencing their cry. On the other hand, the federal government sees him as someone who is challenging the authority of the state, someone who pushes for separation. And they believe allowing him free movement without accountability could weaken the unity of Nigeria. So, this case has become bigger than law. It is about politics and emotion. Think about it, my people. Anytime his court case comes up, you see heavy security presence, you see social media light up, and you see international organizations pay attention. That alone shows you how sensitive this matter is. If it was just an ordinary case, it would not attract this level of spotlight. But because Nnamdi Kanu represents an idea that many people hold, it has become a national event. Please, while listening, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. That way more people can hear this gist without noise or confusion. Now, let's touch on his health again, because it is central to his fear of dying in custody. His lawyers have repeatedly told the court that he needs urgent medical treatment. Some reports suggest he has underlying conditions that are not being treated well enough in detention. And you know, when a high-profile detainee begins to talk about death, the tension increases. Supporters begin to say, is the government trying to keep him until he wastes away? That is why elders and human rights groups have stepped in, saying that if he cannot be released for legal reasons, at least he should be released temporarily for medical reasons. The danger here is this: if something bad happens to him while still in custody, the government will face both domestic and international backlash. IPOB has already warned of consequences, and if his health collapses inside detention, the reaction could be explosive. So, the wise step would be to handle his case with care, not with stubbornness. My people, don't forget, September 26th is not far. The court will decide on the no-case submission. If the court agrees with his lawyers, then he could be set free. But if the court rules against him, then he will continue to stay in detention, and the trial will continue. This is why his recent words about dying in custody hit Nigerians so hard, because the court date is around the corner. Let us also talk about IPOB for a moment. IPOB is not just in Nigeria. It has followers outside the country too. So when Kanu speaks, the reaction is not only in the Southeast, it is global. You see hashtags trending, you see diaspora groups making noise, and you see international journalists paying attention. This case has crossed borders, and that is why the federal government is very cautious in its statements. They don't want to show weakness, but at the same time, they don't want to appear cruel.